Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me. As we navigate the COVID-19 pandemic, we want to make sure that we're remaining vigilant and safe. But with every county in Pennsylvania that on this past Friday moved to either yellow or to green, we can really start to focus now on recovery. And I'm really pleased to be able to talk about this. Early in the pandemic, we developed, I think, as you'll recall, a $60 million business loan program that has helped 745 businesses in Pennsylvania. We've worked with businesses and with the federal government to monitor federal programs like their Paycheck Protection Program, to learn how these programs were helping businesses and figure out where there might be gaps. And over the past several months, the administration, led by the Department of Community and Economic Development, has had an ongoing dialogue with businesses and associations about how we can help all businesses participate in a strong recovery. So today, I'm proud to announce a new program that we've developed in partnership with the legislature that will provide $225 million for grants to small businesses. Businesses will be able to use the grants to cover operating expenses during the shutdown and to help them in their transition to reopening. The grants will also cover technical assistance, including training and guidance for business owners as they stabilize and relaunch their businesses. And the grants will provide debt payment relief for qualified borrowers while helping institutions shore up their lending portfolios. We're going to break down the funding in three ways. First, a Main Street business revitalization program that will receive $100 million of this $225 million. This will help businesses that experienced losses and had their operations directly affected by the COVID-19 shutdown. Second, a historically disadvantaged business revitalization program will also receive $100 million. This program will focus on businesses that are too often left behind. And we'll focus this program on businesses owned and operated by socially and economic disadvantaged owners. When the economic downturns strike, these businesses are often hit the hardest. And we need to make sure people who have struggled due to structural inequality are helped during this especially painful and difficult time. Last, there will be $25 million for loan deferrals and losses for those who have been lending. I want to thank the legislature for working with the administration to develop these programs and allocate the funding under the CARES Act. This has been a bipartisan effort. I specifically want to thank Senators John Blake and Vince Hughes, along with Representatives Jared Solomon and Representative Jake Wheatley. I also want to thank Senators Jay Costa, Jim Brewster, Pam Iovino, Tom Killian, and Representatives Frank Dermody, Morgan Cephas, Christina Sappi, and Melissa Schusterman. These public servants, focused on helping our communities get back on their feet, and this program is an important step in that direction. We're going to keep looking for ways to help so that all Pennsylvanians can get back on track and stay healthy. After months of coming together as a Commonwealth to protect ourselves from this virus, light is finally at the end of the tunnel. However, as we begin to emerge from our homes and walk down the streets of our towns again, we must do more. If we fail to assist small businesses we rely on, the landmarks of our main streets, we're going to walk toward empty windows, leaving the fabric of our communities behind. So we have to make certain that our florists and our barbers and our coffee shops and other small businesses emerge from this pandemic with a viable path forward. Thank you. Now I'll be happy to take questions. Yeah?
Governor, do you have a sense of how many businesses in the state and the Commonwealth have shut down because of the pandemic?
I can get that I don't have it off the top of my head.
I spoke to a few agencies today, and they didn't seem to have updated numbers.
Yeah, I don't have an updated number. We looked at those kinds of things when we came up with $225 million. Again, this is a work in progress. We're trying to move as quickly and as comprehensively as possible to address the many businesses that have been affected by this pandemic. Yeah.
The the funding on this, is this using CARES Act funds?
Yeah, yes, it's CARES Act funding. Jan?
How is the money going to be distributed? You know, what, if I'm a small business owner and I see this opportunity now, how do I take advantage of it?
Yeah, we're working through, up at least through October 15th. These are going to go to for-profit companies, and they'll be distributed through local community organizations. And we're doing that rather than through the Department of Community and Economic Development will have oversight of the program. But we're distributing the money through these organizations because the money can get out faster. I mean, we're hoping to have it out by the end of this week. That's how fast we want to move. So this is not something we want to sort of take a lot of time. We're still working with the legislature to make sure we have the guidelines as they would like to see them. But the goal is to get this out to businesses that need it, that are the most vulnerable, and that have suffered the most during this pandemic.
You're talking like Chambers of Commerce, or like in York County, would it be the group that Kevin Shiver leads?
It could be, I'll get you more information on that, but we also want to make sure that in addition to that, we actually also look at organizations that may have a stronger minority focused. So both, yes.
For businesses that might have already taken advantage of the PPP, you mentioned the Paycheck Protection Program, can they double dip per se in this and take advantage of this as well?
The idea, I mean, we'll see if that actually happens. The idea here is that doesn't happen, that we're actually addressing the needs of companies that have not been helped by the PPP. Yes?
These are grants, not loans, just loans, so
These are grants, yes. Actually, it's CARES Act money, so these are grants that come from the federal government.
And then the process would be to go through the local foundation or whatever the distributing body would be to make the application and then have the distribution?
Yes. I mean, they will be the ones, the oversight after the fact will be from DCD to make sure that there's an integrity to the process.
Governor, do you see multiple rounds of this type of funding going forward? You mentioned October 15th, or is this a first round and then that's it?
I didn't know. I'm not seeing another round. I just don't know how fast it'll go out. We've done programs that in some cases have been subscribed fairly quickly. We've done programs throughout the pandemic where the program hasn't been subscribed fully. So we're looking at a future that will bob and weave as to what the businesses out there say they need. Yeah, John.
Do you have an aspiration as to sort of the aggregate goal of number of jobs you want to save at this point? And I guess the other side of that is there money being set aside for really small businesses? Is there going to be some?
Yeah.
Say, 100 employees or something?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I think the future is going to look different for every business. Some businesses will have more employees. Some will have less. Obviously, the idea would be that everybody who wants a job has an opportunity to get a good job. And we were fairly close to that with the unemployment rate in Pennsylvania. The hope is that we move as quickly as possible back toward that, whatever structural unemployment or frictional unemployment, whatever that rate actually is in Pennsylvania. I'd like to get back there as quickly as possible. Obviously, that relies on the entrepreneurship and innovation of businesses, but I'm hoping that this helps. Yes?
Yeah, sorry to be a little off topic here, but with the school closures ending pretty soon now.
July 1st.
How close are you to guidelines for return to high school sports, and what's the sort of parameters?
Right.
Who's involved in that discussion, and what are the sort of the parameters of that discussion?
The guidelines should be out tomorrow or Wednesday for sports. And we are dealing with two levels, the sports within, intramural sports within the schools, and then the PIAA, and we're working with them. So the guidelines for both should be out within the next day or two. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question on the police reform issue. So members of the Minneapolis City Council have said they'll defund and disband that city's police department. Would you support looking at disbanding local police departments in Pennsylvania?
I saw that. I don't understand how you do that, so I have to learn more about that. I saw that Minneapolis is, I thought they were just considering that. And when they talk about defunding, that's different than just shutting it down. So I don't know what that means. I don't even know how you do that.
Is that something you would consider looking at or studying?
I'll look at all kinds of things, but it's one thing to say I'll look at it, and another thing to say whether I support it. I just don't know what they're talking about.
And would you consider like diverting some of the funding from the state police for other priorities?
I don't think we spend a whole lot on the state police. I'm not sure this is a zero-sum game. I am for spending a lot more money on education, more money on the things that actually get to the heart of the quality of life for folks. I'm not sure that involves reducing anybody else's slice of the pie. Yes?
Barbara, go ahead, sorry, you had your hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Governor, how concerned are you that there might be a fair percentage of businesses that can't make it or survive going forward, and the impact this program could have?
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate concern. There is a constant turnover of businesses who come into business and go out of business. I was in a business where we would actually have to shut down with bad weather in residential construction, usually in the wintertime. But I don't think any business has ever faced the extended shutdown that we've had during this pandemic. So I know even in a week's time, that creates all kinds of dislocation. So I'm absolutely confident that the shutdown that this virus has forced upon us has had a terrible negative effect on a lot of businesses. So it'll remain to be seen how many can bounce back from that. Again, with the CARES Act dollars, with what we're trying to do here in Pennsylvania, the hope is that we can provide the liquidity that businesses will have needed to get through this.
Just while we have you, Governor, the House Democrats seem to have taken over the rostrum in the chamber and are refusing to let session begin until meaningful police reform bills are taken up and passed. Just your reaction to that happening right now at the Capitol?
Yeah, I think that's the Legislative Black Caucus that is sponsoring that. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay with that, obviously?
Sorry?
You said there's no problem on your end with
No
that?
problem. No, I support what they're doing.
Then you answered the question.
Okay. Yeah.
Obviously, if you're talking about reopening at this point and planning for the reopening,
Right.
that kind of assumes that we don't have to reverse course and shut things down.
Right.
But in some of the rural parts of the state, since we've begun to reopen, it does seem like there's some uptick in cases. What have you been told that kind of assures you that things are going fine?
There are two counties that we have our eye on, but they're not, I wouldn't say rural counties. Secretary Levine is going to be having her press conference, I think, at 3:30 today, so you can ask her that question. She can give you a lot more informed answer than I can. But I don't think I know of any rural counties that are actually being...
I know north central Pennsylvania, there's some of the counties. Obviously, when you're talking rural counties, the numbers, the percentage number, do you add 15, it doubles it, but it's
Yeah.
still a change.
I'm just not worried. I reserve that question for Secretary Levine. Yes?
I know a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, are concerned if there is a possible resurgence in the fall, if they're
Right.
going to be forced to shut down again. When we were here with you a few weeks ago, you said the goal would not to not do that.
Not do that, right. I think keep in mind why we did what we did. We were trying to buy time because we just did not want our healthcare system to be overwhelmed. We didn't have the testing. We didn't have the protective equipment for frontline workers. We're not in that same situation now, so we have bought time. And there are clear, consequences to actually shutting down the economy. And to the extent we can avoid doing that, to the extent we can use things like contact tracing, more robust testing. I don't think by the fall we'll have a vaccine, but we will do everything in our power to figure out how we coexist with this new post-infectious world that we're in with viruses like the coronavirus, and still lead lives that allow us to go to school, to go to buy something, to go to work.
gone away from that one metric that so much was made of 50 cases per 100,000, and looking at the dashboard of criteria.
Yeah, we have. And I think I explained this last time. We didn't have a whole lot of data, and we were flying into very new territory, new airspace. I hate analogies, metaphors, but anyway. And so we were doing the best we could. We've learned a lot. And I think the metrics we're using now are more sophisticated. So the only thing I can guarantee to you is, yeah, we have moved beyond single metrics like that into a much more sophisticated world over the last 2 months. 2 months from now, our metrics, I hope, will be even more sophisticated than they are now. Yeah.
Governor, what's your best advice to Pennsylvanians on finding mutual understanding on the issues of race relations going forward?
I think we have to start by making sure that we're not in denial, that we've got to recognize that there are two Pennsylvanias out there. When you look at the criminal justice system, there are two Pennsylvanias. There's one Pennsylvania for you if you're white and one if you're not. If you look at the prison system, there are two Pennsylvanias. If you look at the employment situation, unemployment rate, look at health care, there are two Pennsylvanias. So I think we need to get out of denial and recognize that we have a problem here. And it's a problem that obviously affects people of color, but it affects all the rest of us because it says something about the society and the political system and the economy that we operate in, that it's not operating on all cylinders. Unless everybody is afforded an equal opportunity, then our system is not working right. So we all have a self-interest, a vested interest in making this as fair a society as we can make it. We're not there yet. Jan.
This one off topic again. I was just wondering, clearly your decision to move to the cap and trade, the RGGI program didn't sit well with the legislature. Now tomorrow the House Environmental Resources and Energy Committee is going to take up legislation that would require you to get legislative authority before entering into such a program. If that bill would land on your desk, what would be its fate?
I'll veto it. I have legislative authority through the 20-year-old Clean Air Act that the legislature passed. And RGGI is actually a very business approach to solving this problem. It's basically saying, let's put a price on this externality, and that price will be included in the cost of whatever comes out of that. And so I think this is actually a very reasonable free market solution to the issue of climate change, and I think it's one that Pennsylvania should put into place.
You are still pursuing that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Follow up on that, actually. A lot of plant workers at coal and natural gas plants have expressed significant reservations about what the RGGI proposal would mean for their livelihoods. Is your administration going to take any action to aid those workers if their plants would close as a result? I
think we ought to. Dislocation happens for lots of different reasons. This would be one, and I think it's one of the roles of state government should be to make sure that those transitions are as easy and painless as possible. That includes education, it includes unemployment compensation, unemployment insurance, things that we are doing, and maybe things that we could do better. But I think when I was in business, when we would adopt a new technology or move forward, the goal as CEO for me was to make sure that my employees had a vested interest in technological improvement. To the extent that became a zero-sum game, the company did not, that was not a good thing for the company. And to the extent something that's good, like addressing the problem, the challenge of climate change, to the extent we are kept from doing that because the self-interest, perceived self-interest of the worker, or the real self-interest of the worker in the short run is not seen as in line with that, then that's a problem. It's a problem for all of us. We all of us, need to address the problem of climate change. Anything else? Yes?
Can you say anything else to the historically disadvantaged businesses? Like what the criteria will be to qualify for that?
No, but I can get you the specific information on that. All right, when I say Lindsay will get that for you. Anything else? Yes?
Governor, you had, I believe on social media said earlier today that masks are required. Previously, you've said they're recommended. Is there a difference in the guidance on masks going forward for entering a business?
They're not required. Let me make sure I say this right, because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure. Whether they're required or not, though, let me just put a plug in for wearing masks. The mask protects other people. Obviously, if you're yelling, I think we're learning more about that. They're less effective, but in just general conversation, if you're in a room with somebody else or you're close to somebody else, you actually are doing them a favor by wearing a mask. So we'll find out what the legality is, but we really ought to be wearing masks, and stores should be requiring that of their customers. They can do that with shirts and shoes. They should certainly be able to do it with masks to try to keep their other customers safe. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much, everybody.